Joining me now to weigh in, Texas conservative congressman and foreign affairs ranking member, Michael McCaul. Congressman, always great to see you. Former military personnel who I've spoken with on and off the air claim that Biden's plan to put troops and citizens in basically what amounts to a kill box, one point of departure in the middle of Kabul, and not at Bagram Air Base or other more easily defensible positions in Afghanistan, was a plan thought up by a bunch of military leaders consumed with critical race theory rather than sound military strategy designed to keep our people in and out of uniform safe. Are the critics of this administration correct?
Well, I think Biden, he basically disregarded his own top generals and intelligence community all along the way, all summer, starting in May. The IC warned very gravely what was going to happen. It did, in fact, happen. He disregarded it. I don't for a minute think that our top generals didn't think Bagram was, the idea that Kabul airport's going to be better than Bagram to conduct this kind of evacuation. Quite frankly, Chris, he put the State Department and Tony Blinken in charge of this operation. He really doesn't know much about the military. Bagram is a military airport with multiple airfields. Kabul, it'd be like in D.C. evacuating out of, say, Reagan Airport as opposed to Andrews Air Force Base. I mean, does that make any sense to you at all? And you had Jim Banks, my dear friend, talking about all the equipment we left behind. Enough Apache Black Hawk helicopters to have more than most of our allies. And what bothers me the most is this biometric equipment where we had all of our Afghan partners, those interpreters, all their biometric databases. Now, guess who has it now? The Taliban. And guess what's going to happen to them? They are going to be left behind because we can't get them out by August 31st. And now they have a death warrant on their back.
Well, an image of Mr. Biden, and we just showed it a minute ago, has gone viral. You've probably seen it. Some people are calling this a defining image of his occupation of the Oval Office. He's hanging his head in shame in response to a question about the blood on his hands in Afghanistan. In my view, this man and his entire team are liabilities to the safety and security of our nation. How do you see this, sir?
Well, I was the first one to come on TV, and I said that. I said he has blood on his hands, and I took some heat for saying that, Chris. But you know what? I was right. And now look what's happened. 13 servicemen dead. We haven't seen this in 10 years, and it happened in Afghanistan. The blood of 160 Afghans at that airport, and much more to come as the crisis unfolds. And all those allies we have, they're going to be left behind in Afghanistan, will be executed in a very gruesome way by the Taliban. I do think he has blood on his hands. I think they need to be held accountable. I will be conducting vigorous oversight. We will be preparing a report. We need to get to the bottom of, why did this go so bad? Who made the decisions? A lot of unanswered questions that we're going to get to the bottom of on the Republican side. And there are a lot of Democrats, by the way, that are really unhappy with the way this whole thing unfolded. It couldn't have gone worse. In fact, it's probably the worst foreign policy blunder of my lifetime.
No, I'm right there with you. In the modern era, it is the worst foreign policy defeat for the United States. And it is that, Congressman, a defeat. Look, you brought up what Congressman Banks was talking about all of this equipment that we've left. And the damage goes far beyond just the $85 billion worth of equipment. The Chinese have it. The Taliban have it. Our enemies all over the world now have access to sophisticated American weapon systems. Should there not be immediately congressional hearings called to determine the scope of damage that is done, that now that our enemies and adversaries all over the globe have access to some of the most sophisticated weapons technology paid for by the American taxpayer, I might add, but doesn't there need to be a damage assessment done to how much damage has been done to our country because of that one screw up?
Secretary Blinken will testify before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I got the chairman to agree to that, but I'll be honest with you, Chris, I don't see the Democrats conducting very vigorous oversight. And so if they're not willing to do that, we're going to do that on our own. and we're going to have our own oversight, and we're going to have our own. We already sent a preservation letter to preserve all documents within the State Department, the DOD, and the intelligence community. And we want to see those documents. And we will be producing a report very similar to what I did on COVID, the Origins of COVID-19 report, on this assessment. And then I think once we get the facts and the evidence in, like any federal prosecutor would do, we need to make the decisions about who needs to be held accountable and call for resignations.
Yeah, I've got two more questions, and I've only got 2 minutes to get them in. According to a Politico report, Team Biden has given the Taliban a list of stranded Americans and our Afghan allies to, in their words, expedite evacuations. Now, people with more than one brain cell know that Biden, that excludes Biden and his team. But basically, what the administration did is give a kill list of Americans and Afghan allies to the Taliban. How can you persuade other Republicans? I don't even know if this is legal. How can you persuade your fellow Republicans that giving terrorists, American citizens, personal information is a bad thing? I don't think our government's legally supposed to do that, are they?
Unconditional surrender to the Taliban. This president's so weak, he's allowed the Taliban to dictate the time and place of our withdrawal, begging them to protect Americans. This is the position we find ourselves in today. I mean, how weak is this? We're projecting weakness, and now we have these Americans left behind. And after August 31st, the only thing, they think we can rely on the Taliban. I think the whole premise of negotiating with the Taliban has been a really bad idea. And now what we're doing right now, General McKenzie, CENTCOM, we have joint special operations going out, getting these Americans and getting them to the airport, because the airport, Chris, is closed. And the only one, these Afghan partners are gone, right? They're left behind. And our only hope is to use our special forces to get them out.
Well, last question I have for you. If you can give me the shortest answer possible, Congressman, because it's quite weighty, I know. The Biden administration just released its finding from a 90-day investigation, quote-unquote investigation, into the origin of the China virus. It said it was unable to definitively conclude where the virus originated from. Now, in my mind, your report, the one you put together, was the definitive, meticulous examination of China's role in creating the pandemic. Knowing what you know about what I just said, that Biden came to no conclusion whatsoever, was his report just a whitewash?
Yeah, they couldn't be. It's not conclusive at all. And I think you've got multiple intelligence agencies in disagreement with each other. But one moderate degree of confidence, they called it, was that it didn't come from animals, and that highly likely it leaked out of a lab. But that's just one agency. And so, yeah, to your point, my report was very clear. I stand by the findings of my report, and the CCP's attacked me for it. But I think at the end of the day, we're all going to get, the Chinese will never let us in. But to me, the preponderance of the evidence is clear. It leaked out of that lab.
Well, I'm glad you are not defending and running interference for the communist Chinese the way the administration is. Congressman Michael McCaul of Texas, sir, we appreciate the time as always. Still to come.